Hi, welcome to Dancing Local. I'm Ann Morris, the Program Director for the Dance Project, a local nonprofit dance organization, and this is Jan Van Dyke, the Artistic Director. And the Dance Project runs a number of artistic and educational programs within the Greensboro community and across the state. And we really are excited to share our love of dance with our audiences, our participants, and our students. And Dancing Local is a new way for us to continue to talk about and share dance with our community.
And we want the community to start thinking about local artists, local art, as something that belongs to them so that we can all enjoy it together.
That's right. And in addition to being program director of the Dance Project, I'm also one of the company members for the Dyke Dance Group, and Jan, of course, is the director. And we're going to talk a little bit today about the upcoming performance, May 3rd, in the Green Hill Art Gallery.
At 7 p.m.
7 p.m.?
It's a first Friday, and people will be just wandering around Greensboro, we hope, and we'll drop in for, it's a short show, maybe half an hour.
Yeah. So I want to start first just maybe introducing the Dance Project a little bit. How did it start?
It started quite a long time ago, 1974. I was living in Washington and I had opened a dance studio, and so I formed a corporation, a nonprofit corporation, to help run the studio. At the time I was also running a dance company. It was called Jan Van Dyke and Dancers because I was dancing with the company then. And then a year later, in 75, we moved into a much bigger space and made it up into a performance space. So it also, Dance Project became what it is now, a school, a company, and a performance producer.
Yeah, and I mean, we do run other, in addition to your company, the Dance Project coordinates the North Carolina Dance Festival each year that we're getting ready to start our 23rd season in September. And then of course we run the Dance Project at City Arts classes in the Cultural Arts Center, year-round classes for all ages, children and
lots
adults.
Of community outreach. Yeah, so in 1986 I came to Greensboro as a graduate student and spent 3 years getting my doctorate. And at the end of that time, I was hired by the dance department at UNCG, and I stayed. I've stayed all these years, and so I decided to move the Dance Project down to Greensboro from Washington. So we legally established ourselves as a corporation here in North Carolina, and we've been working ever since.
Yeah, and it sounds like, I mean, the company has been around since the beginning of the Dance Project, both in Washington and here. How have you seen it change over the years?
Well, in the first place, my involvement has changed since I'm not a dancer anymore. And that's been a fairly profound change in the way I look at the work. Because I'm not in it, I can just look at it and help people to achieve the vision that I see. I'm not worried about my own performance nearly so much. And my work has changed quite a lot. In those early years, in the 70s, that was a very different American culture in those days. So my work was generally more dramatic and more imagistic. And as I developed more as an artist, it became more technical and more about dancing.
Yeah, I find your work very musical and structured most of the time, and there's a really strong focus on group dynamics. I've experienced that in the works that I've performed, and also seen that in other works.
Yeah, I think I would say my work is focused on relationship. So it's relationship among the dancers. Even in a dance that's only about design, the dancers relate to each other. But it's also relationship with the space, and that's one reason I like doing it in alternative kinds of spaces. And it's a relationship with the music. I mean, I do count out my music when there are counts to be had, and listen carefully to the way the composer has phrased it, and then try to respond in some way with the choreography.
Yeah, it almost feels like the rhythm of the choreography is sort of overlaid over the rhythm of the music, so they may not, follow each other exactly, but they're very intimately related to each other.
I hope that's apparent. Yeah.
Now, you were talking about presenting your work in alternative spaces, and this is a really good example. You don't always present work in a gallery, but you've been working in the Green Hill
for many years. As long, since the 90s, sometime in the 90s we started, and it's a wonderful space. It does have 4 pillars in it, which creates challenges.
Right.
And sometimes, depending on the show that's up, there are sculptures in the middle of the floor that we have to dance around. But generally, the Green Hill management is very solicitous of us and helps us to make it work by moving things out of the way or scheduling us for a show that doesn't have much in the middle of the floor. And I like the fact that the audience can be on 4 sides and that they can move around if they want to. They generally don't, but I always suggest it. So that if they can't see, if a pillar's in the way or the dancers are too far away, they are free to get up and move down to where the dancers are.
Yeah, we do have some photos from last year's Green Hill performance. David, can you set up our slideshow?
Last year we worked with dances that traveled a lot through the space, and so that was pretty easy to make the dances cover a lot of ground, and so everybody in the audience got to feel close to the dancers at some point. This year, the dances that we're doing are not naturally so traveling. So as we rehearse now, I'm looking at them and thinking of the Green Hill space and thinking of how to get them through the space so that the whole audience feels like the dances have been part of their performance.
Yeah.
And then the dancers still maintain the designs that are choreographed in.
I mean, you talked about the sort of the different relationship that the audience has with the work in a gallery. Are there other aspects of presenting work in alternative spaces that really interest you?
Well, I think that the dance is seen differently depending on the space. And one thing I like about galleries is that they are an artistic space. And the Green Hill is the Green Hill Center for North Carolina Art, which really fits our Dancing Local motto.
Right.
And they honor local artists in the same way that we do. So I feel especially good about dancing there, but I've danced in numerous galleries, and each one is a challenge, and some of them are in multi-rooms, so you have the audience follow the dancers from one room to another. Some of them have incorporated staircases. Some of them are very spacious and some are quite cramped.
Right.
So it's always a challenge, and it always helps me to see my work differently. I've also shown my work at halftime at basketball games and out in fields and so on. And each time the work appears slightly different. Yeah.
Yeah. We haven't gone into the gallery yet this year. In our rehearsals, we've been mostly resetting in the studio, although we go into the gallery next week. And I'm really curious to see how the work feels different in a different space and outside of a theater. Both of these works were created for a theater space, right?
That's right.
Okay.
And in a theater, you have theatrical lighting, which can help point the audience eye toward a certain dancer or a certain area of the stage. In a gallery, you don't have that, so the dancers themselves have to create a means of guiding the audience as to what to watch.
But it sounds like even then there's such a different, there's so much that the audience can see and so many different perspectives and angles that every person is getting a different
That's right.
A different experience.
Everybody has a different experience. And as a dancer, I think one thing to keep in mind is that the audience is very close.
Right.
And sometimes you're right next to a child or somebody who has their legs out into the dancing space. And so you have to be careful and not let it interfere with your performance, but yet keep account of audience safety and artistic integrity.
Right, yeah, there are those sort of technical logistics that have to be worked out with the artistic aims of the piece.
In the Green Hill especially, there is the entrance door where audience comes in from the atrium, and most of them are inclined to plop down right there. And so the audience sort of builds up in that area, and it's much more sparse around the other sides, which
Right.
have an equally good view. I haven't choreographed with that area in mind. So I'm always telling people to spread out. The dancers are going to come through right there, and so you have to leave a space for them,
Right.
that kind of thing.
Yeah. So this concert has 2 dances.
Yes.
One of them is the circle.
The circle,
And when was that?
2007.
created? Okay.
Yeah, and that was made sort of inspired by a Renoir painting whose name escapes me right now, but it's of a boating party. Young people on a boat with a dog, and they're having drinks and talking to each other and having a very good time. And so I thought I would just make a dance that showed people together as a community having a nice time, and I named it The Circle. And purposely it's cast in a very diverse manner so that there are older dancers and younger dancers, men, women, black, white. It's a very inclusive group of people.
To get that sense
Yeah.
of a community
Yes.
spending time together.
So the parts are interchangeable. The dancers move from one part to another as the dance progresses, so they're all doing each other's parts, and just to show that we all experience more or less the same thing in life.
Yeah. Well, we have a little footage. We have some footage from the rehearsals that have been going on in the last few weeks, and then we have an excerpt from its performance from several years ago. So let's take a look at that, and we'll see some of those dynamics that you were talking about. David, can you get our rehearsal footage?
Especially the names at camping. But I don't know that everybody, because it came from her phrase. Because I kind of saw people may have done it in a different way.
Well, it looks like a swing in the middle of
Well, she would do it like a swing. She does it like, I mean, like, yeah.
right, I'm like going down.
Yeah. Because there is a time where I come to Melissa and go,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3. This is the first one.
okay.
Okay? So we have 6 for nothing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wait, footsteps back first. Then. Right. Okay, walk out. 4. Okay, try that. Count. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, good. 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That was nice. That was good. So everybody intellectually knows what they're supposed to be doing.
Oh, yes.
Right? It's long around here. It's like an arm.
So, I think this is a mostly new cast, right? Are any of these dancers part of the original cast?
Virginia
Okay.
is the only one. She's like 7 months pregnant right now, but I thought it was appropriate for this dance that she could stay in it and just be who she is, and it would fit right in.
Okay. And the other dancers, are they new to the company?
The dancers span a wide range. Some, as I said earlier, are young and some are older. Virginia and Kelly have been with the company since the very beginning, and I've known them both since they were freshmen in college, and now they're mothers and have
Professionals in
married.
the-
And so I've sort of watched them grow up into maturity and develop their artistry beautifully.
One thing that strikes me about watching these clips and rehearsing with these dancers is, I mean, because Greensboro is sort of a small community, I've danced with these people in other settings and
With other choreographers.
and I've seen them perform in different ways. So it's really interesting to see how they how their bodies move in your choreography in different ways.
Right. So some of these dancers have trained with me, years and years of classes, and others, there are 2 in this cast, that have never taken a single class with me, and they come from very different backgrounds themselves and from this company. Most of my work is about the design and the relationships of the dancers to each other, rather than a virtuosic performance of a dancer showing what they can do on stage.
Right, the really high jumps.
And the splits in the air and that kind of thing. We don't do that. So some dancers are trained to do that and not to relate to other dancers on stage and so on. So for some of them, it's like another kind of training to get into this kind of performance.
Now, the other dance that is being performed on May 3rd has a really different atmosphere than this.
Yes.
It's called Untitled Elegy.
Yes.
And
it was made in 2003, shortly after 9/11. And it speaks, for me, it speaks to my sense of American culture, some of the issues that we see again and again happening, the lack of willingness to take responsibility, the standing out in a crowd to disturb the rest of the crowd, the despair and desperation sometimes of some people. It was kind of the way that makes me feel that way, desperate and despairing sometimes, American culture and how it sort of rides on the surface all the time. The music I chose is by Arvo Pärt, and it is music that many choreographers have made dances to. It was less true when I made the dance, but today it's very true. Paul Taylor just made a premiere to that music. And it's, in that sense, it's kind of like Rite of Spring or something. Each choreographer brings his or her vision to the music, and so you could look at several different works to that piece of music and see different ideas.
Right. And I think it really speaks to the power of the music as well, that it's so
it's
evocative.
Very powerful music, I think.
It certainly sets a very clear atmosphere that when I'm performing that really feels like it shapes my movement and my approach to the movement and to the other dancers as well.
Yeah. So the music is composed in segments, and it's more or less the same theme being repeated in a different key or with slight variations, separated by wood blocks, doing a short rhythm.
Right.
And then it starts again, and it goes through this 7 or 8 times. And so what I tried to do was to set a different scene for each segment. And on stage, we changed the lighting for each one, and so it seemed a different environment. The light came from a different angle or lit the whole stage or only part of the stage. In the gallery, we're not going to be able to do that. So the dancers will shift to another facing, another spacing, but
to sort of signal the different scene, because although all the scenes are sort of tied together with these common themes, there's not like a continuous narrative.
It breaks each time when the wood blocks come in.
Well, let's take a look at this. We have we don't have rehearsal footage for this. We have excerpts from a recent performance. This was from October.
Last October, in
Yeah.
a theater.
In a theater, right. So very different than it will look in the gallery.
Yeah, right.
Okay. David, let's go to the clips of performance. So those were a little previews of these dances. It'll be really interesting to see how both dances, but particularly elegy with that really dark atmosphere, transfers and adapts to the gallery.
Right. We go into the gallery on Monday morning for our first rehearsal to fix the spacing and get the dancers used to working in an open space. So it's always an interesting procedure and exciting.
Yeah, and then you can see the full works. First Friday, May 3rd,
Yes.
7 o'clock in the Green Hill Art Gallery.
Green Hill Center for North Carolina Art.
Yes.
Which is on the second floor of the Cultural Center.
And it's a free community performance. Donations are welcome, but it's open to everybody, all ages.
Right. Lots of children come. All ages come. So we welcome you.
If you'd like to find out more information about this performance or the other activities that the Dance Project produces, please visit our website, www.danceproject.org, and keep dancing local. Thanks.